Hi, this is Sarah Vogler, and we are recording the study group on 11/22/24. We're lucky to have Sabrina and Connie with us. And we will start with a discussion of the kidneys, a video of the kidney development, just to clarify all that we are doing. Let me just see if I can get back to that. And let's see if I can get the share button. Takes a minute to get that set up. Portion of the screen, share. Okay. Oh, I don't have the sound.
The embryology of the kidney, all the way from its humble beginnings to the adult kidney. So I'm going to actually make.
Okay, you're able to hear that? Okay.
Make this very, very simple for you. It's very hard to understand if, especially you're just looking at this and you don't know what it is. So just ignore everything that's up there right now. We're going to get to it, and by the end of it, you'll understand it all. So where does it all begin? It all begins at a congregation of cells called the blastule. Or the blastula, sorry.
I think he meant to say blastocele. I'm not sure what he meant.
The blastula is essentially a sphere of cells with a liquid center. Why is that important? Why should I know what a blastula is? It's important because that was you in the beginning. It's the beginning of every human or person. This turns into this, if you're lucky. So what's the next step after the blastula? A process called gastrulation turns the blastula into something like this. And don't let that scare you. So, through a process of gastrulation, we get a gastrula. And essentially, the gastrula is made up of the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. So the process of gastrulation from the blastula gives us these three layers we are so exposed to. So the outer layer would obviously be the ectoderm, ecto. The inner layer is obviously the endoderm, and the middle one is obviously the mesoderm. Obviously the mesoderm. So just to simplify that, and you'll always see, whenever anyone is describing embryology, you'll always see them like this oversimplified ectoderm layer, mesoderm middle layer, endoderm bottom layer. But if you've never been exposed to this, you wouldn't have any idea as to what that is, even now. You're probably still looking at this and wondering, what is this? This is a simplification for this. So endoderm, you're looking at it and you're saying, that's the bottom, it's not the inner. But it's the inner in the way that this is what we're looking at right here. So the outer layer, the ectoderm in blue, the inner layer in red, the mesoderm, M for middle, mesoderm, and then the inner layer, endoderm. And the endoderm is also, it's all the green is the endoderm. If you don't know anything, just learn that the blastula will end up turning into these three layers called the gastrula. And these three, just look at it as this way. So this is a cross-section of the embryo. We have the ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. If you don't understand anything about embryology, at least know this. At least know the three layers. Ecto, meso, endo. Know those. Okay. So I've drawn a couple of more mature slices of the embryo. Essentially what happens is that the ectoderm folds to form this neural fold, which it ends up pinching. So just step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Don't let it confuse you because we still have the the ectoderm here. We still have the mesoderm here, and we still have the endoderm here. Throughout all of them, this is still the ectoderm. This is still in red the mesoderm, and in green that's still the endoderm. Okay. So as it matures, the ectoderm pinches and forms this neural tube, which I will label but not talk much about because it has nothing to do with kidneys. We're just going to stick to kidneys, okay? So in red, we are left with the mesoderm. And I think it's important for you to know what makes up the mesoderm, at least at this stage. So the first globlet thing here, this first receptor-like looking mesoderm, that's called the paraxial mesoderm. And that gives rise to skeletal muscles, tendons, cartilage, and the dermis. The next one we have, which is the important part because this is to do with the kidneys now, is this other ball-looking thing that you can easily discern as its own structure, is the intermediate mesoderm. Intermediate mesoderm gives rise to the kidneys, gonads, genitals. And then the final part, this thing that looks like a couple of plates, just happens to be called the lateral plates. Lateral because it's on the side. And finally, this intermediate mesoderm is called intermediate because it's in the middle. Okay, this is what you should know. The mesoderm, paraxial mesoderm, intermediate mesoderm, lateral plates. Know that. Oh yeah, and the lateral plates, they're developed into circulatory vessels, etc. Okay. So what does this have to do with the kidneys? Let's get into it. You have probably never seen this before or are looking at this and saying, what? But don't worry, you will fully understand what this is. This is the intermediate mesoderm. So right here, but this being a cross-sectional view, this is the longitudinal view. So just flip this up and you'll see this, okay? But then again, this is not in one time frame. This, as it goes from the top, is in early kidney development to the late kidney development, but we'll go through it. So the kidney is developed in 3 stages. 2 of them are transitory, and the third one is our final product. So the transitory just means we're going to begin with one structure, we're going to ditch that, go to the next structure, ditch that, and then we're going to be left with the third one, which is what the adult kidney is. So the first transitory is called the pronephros. The pronephros is here in red. And the kidney develops cranially, caudally. So from head to tail, top to bottom. So what happens is this part is developed, so it goes like this. As the kidneys are being developed, as time passes, 1 week, 2 weeks, the pronephros is developing. And that's the first part of the kidney, okay? And then by about 4 weeks, the pronephros is degraded and the next stage takes over. The next stage, so from here to here, that's called the mesonephros. So as the mesonephros is being developed, the pronephros is degraded away and is no longer. because it's a rudimentary structure. It's only temporary and is the first stage of the kidney development.
And you guys remember what Bonnie said about the pronephros?
No, I don't remember. What did she say?
Let me see if I can get back to you on the screen. I'm going
I've
to,
got the screen divided. I can see you on the side. Oh, there we are.
okay. You could see me on the side. That's good.
Yeah, I had it divided up.
Oh, okay. So the pronephros, she feels, and she's very embodied, of course. And if you put your hands on the neck, this is where you begin in the embryo, that your kidneys start here. Do you remember her saying that?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yeah.
So the pronephros, she feels, really gives your neck support. And so I feel that I've been using that image to help correct my head position. It's very, very helpful to feel engaged in your neck. If you're reading and you're slumped forward slightly, and you just remember your pronephros. So traditionally, this is sought to disappear, but Bonnie feels like it lays the pathway for the support of your head and neck. And actually going down, she feels the pathway continues. So your kidneys not only work as filtering, but they also work as supporting structures. And they're developed, they're so thought of as energy centers. So this is one of the ways they provide your energy.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Everything is always useful at every point in time as
yes,
we develop. That's so
yes,
cool.
yes. And you remember about the appendix, that they give direction? Do you remember what she said about the appendix? Well, she felt the appendix had something to do with directing the allantois, which becomes the
Yeah,
umbilical cord, pulls it forward. So
yeah.
very
Thank you.
interesting. If I remember correctly, I think that's correct.
That
All right,
sounds right.
yeah, does that sound right? Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll go back if we get the video again. I hope that got recorded. Okay, here we go. So he thinks it disappears, but we know better.
So the pronephros is gone, and then the mesonephros takes over. But what's the mesonephros? It's composed of, it's made up of.
I just want to say the memory is there. So you have the remnants of that structure supporting your neck. If you just think about it and touch it, it'll bring your head back.
The space of it.
The space of it.
Mm.
Space holds the information, as Bonnie loves to say.
Duct system called the mesonephric duct. The other name is Wolffian duct. And it also has tubules. So mesonephric tubule. Okay, it's pretty simple if you put time and effort in. So what I've circled here around this, where the mesonephric section is this blue. It's tissue, it's mesenchymal tissue, and it's called the nephrogenic cord. What is the nephrogenic cord? It's just tissue. It's mesenchymal tissue. And that will help develop into other structures that we'll go through.
I think in Bonnie's pictures, that's called the genital ridge. I could be mistaken. I don't think he uses that term, but it looks pretty similar to what we have in our drawings.
So we have the mesonephric tubules, these fork-like things that are ducts, and the mesonephros is actually a functioning kidney, but it's still immature. It's the second transitory phase, and it'll be developed into other things. What is it developed into? So, from this mesonephric duct, caudally, a urethral bud is formed from. So this right here is the urethral bud,
Mhm.
or the metanephric diverticulum.
Just so you know, in Bonnie's video, it's called the ureteric bud,
So from
the ureteric, from the word ureter, so ureteric bud.
this urethral bud, the metanephric diverticulum, that is part of the final stage, the permanent stage of the kidney, which is called the metanephros. So we have metanephros, mesonephros, transitory phase, pronephros, which is gone. So by about the 9th week, we've got the mesonephros.
Okay, that's your permanent kidney.
So the urethral bud, though, is only for the collecting ducts. So it will eventually form the minor calyx, major calyx, ureter, pelvic, renal pelvis. But we still need the nephrons and its vasculature and everything. But where is that coming from? So where that comes from is, do you remember we spoke about this the nephrogenic cord, that's mesenchymal tissue? The sacral part of it, probably about a third of the bottom part of it, will become metanephric blastula, blasteme. So this will eventually come off and circle around the urethral bud.
Mm.
Metanephric blastula.
Okay, I'm gonna back up for a second.
Probably about a third of the bottom part of it will become metanephric blastula, blasteme. So this will eventually come off and circle around the urethral bud. So the metanephric blastula. So the
Does that say blastula or blastuline? It sounded like he was saying a different word than blastula. And Bonnie doesn't go into this, so I'm kind of unfamiliar with that.
Was it blastocele? I thought I heard, but
Is
I
it
can't
blastocele?
read it.
Okay, let's go back.
I can't read it. You need to expand it so that
blasteme.
there we go.
So this will eventually come off and circle around the urethral bud. So the metanephric blastula. So the metanephric blastula is derived from the
Blastula.
sacral part
Blastula.
of the nephrogenic cord, which is just tissue. And what happens is, as these no longer become kidneys anymore, and so the mesonephros actually becomes the genitals. So it was a kidney that at one point, and it still is a kidney, but just the bottom third of it, because the rest is going to become the genital. So we have here, and it kind of is starting to look like a kidney as well. It's surrounding the urethral bud, and what happens is, so if we're looking at this one, the urethral bud will bifurcate into the minor major calyxes, and the blastema will form these vesicles. And the vesicles will attach to the new.
Blastema, what do you think that is?
Yeah, he said blastema. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I heard blastema too. I've never heard the blastema. I'm gonna
So many
spell it.
terms.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Newly grown ducts, and that's how they bifurcate into the minor major calyxes. And the blastema will form these vesicles. And the vesicles will attach to the newly grown ducts, and that's how the kidney is developed. So to summarize everything, we have, and the blastema will form these vesicles,
Oh, I see.
and the vesicles will attach to the newly grown, and the blastema will form these vesicles, and the
Okay.
Okay.
vesicles will attach to the newly grown ducts, and that's how the kidney is developed.
Now I understand that better. So he said the newly developed kidney, or
And the blastema will form these vesicles, and the vesicles will attach to the newly grown ducts,
Yeah.
and that's how the kidney is developed. So to summarize everything, we have a blastula. Gastrulation will lead it to the 3 layers of the ectoderm, mesoderm, endodome. And as it matures, it'll fold. The ectoderm will fold, and the rest will mature. The neural tube will pinch off the ectoderm. And if we're focused only on the mesoderm, we have the paraxial mesoderm, the intermediate mesoderm, and the lateral plates. The important thing for kidneys is the intermediate mesoderm. So just this, that's the important part for the kidneys. Looking at it longitudinally, the kidney is developed in 3 stages. Pronephros, which is temporary, it's fully degraded. Mesonephros, which is also temporary, but also becomes the genitals eventually, and the nephrons and the vasculature of the nephron and of the kidney. And then we have the metanephros, which is the urethral bud, and eventually the metanephric blastula. So that blastula, the tissue comes down, forms vesicles, and attaches to the urethral bud. And as it grows, it becomes a full kidney. So now I'm going to post a link in the description. It's just animation. If you had watched that animation before the video, it would have probably made no sense. But now watch the animation, and it should really put everything together for you. I hope you understood that. If not, leave a comment. I'll reply to. I'll help you guys out if you need. Other than that, I think that's it. Peace.
okay, so that was great. I thought he was very helpful. Again, his name is Dr. Minas or Minas. So if you'd like to go back to that, I'll put that in the recording. So you don't have to bother, but it's Dr. Minas, which had 200,000 views 8 years ago. So it's great to have another point of view and to get more information.
Yeah, I've seen some other videos. Some of the other teachers that I studied with have used his other videos too, because they're really, really good.
From the
They're
same
very-
guy?
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, with Mary Lou and Amy have used some of those videos.
Which Amy?
Amy Matthews.
Okay. But she's not taking this course, but you're talking about.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about when I was studying, when I was going through my SME training.
Oh, yes.
I studied with them, and they used a number of different videos that he had at different points, in the modules, because he's
Okay,
really,
now
very
I
good.
just turned off, thank you. I just turned off this share. And it looks like we are recording
Yeah. Mhm.
live, but I can't tell for sure.
Well, I can see it. It says recording up there.
Okay. So I'm going to assume that we're on record here. So let's stand and let's do some work with our own bodies and experience. I'm going to move to a different location where I have more space. And just take a moment to be where you are. to feel where you are. Half of my legs are not visible, so let me see if I can get this to be full screen. Okay, so, and also I'm going to come back to my. Now I'm back on with my own earpiece. I think that's still good. All right, can you hear me? Say yes if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, thank goodness. Getting panicky there. All right.
Yes, and it's still recording, even though you're, changed your.
Okay, thank you. So I want you just to feel where you are, standing still. And if you have a wall that you could stand next to, I have just a pillar that I can stand next to. Take a moment just to feel where you are without making any changes in your posture. Just kind of be where you were when you didn't have anything behind you. Let me just check to see how that's going for you. Okay, good. So I notice my head is in front and forward of the rest of my body. So I'm going to play with the pronephros remnants here. See what your experience is. Tell me what you notice. Can unmute yourself too.
So I am imagining, I'm not sure what I'm actually feeling it, but I'm visualizing this structure moving down, from the neck.
What does that do to your head?
Well, it seems to straighten my cervical spine out a little bit and center my head more in a more balanced way. It's like
Definitely, yeah.
draws me into balance up here.
Great, thank you. Sabrina, what about you?
Yeah, I feel a little bit more ease in the soft palate of my mouth, like right up top, like I can feel like right behind my nose, like the very top end of my throat, like there is a little bit of like easefulness, softness. Yeah, a comfortable relaxation.
Nice.
Okay.
So if you want to go back to the wall, you can go back to the wall. If you don't have to. I like to go back to the wall because I'm surprised by my head position, and so it helps me. Now I'm just naturally back against it with my head, so that's good. So take your time and allow the pronephros to morph and dissolve through the ducts, traveling down the ducts through the thoracic and lumbar region to form the next set of kidneys. Do you remember the name of that? You keep your sound on so you can speak from wherever you are. The mesonephros. So your mesonephros develops. You could put your hands back there. thoracic would be T12 into the lumbar. See what that does to the back. See what it does for your curve in the back, lower back. Let's see if you can do it from the mesonephros. So I feel like I need to lie on the floor because otherwise I start doing a lot of muscular skeletal alignment. And I don't want to do that. I want to use the mesonephros. So a little easier if I take that type of gravity and place it in a different position. And I'm finding it's taking me time to get there. So you do what you need to do. Maybe you're there already. Are you there already or not?
I'm in space. That's about
that-
all I can say.
You feel what?
That's space. I'm in the space. The space
You're in the
of
space, the
the
mesonephros.
space
Okay.
of my, you know, the sort of the center of my body, the thoracic and down to the lumbar. And I feel that area more intently.
I feel an urge to bring my knees into my chest. So I can really feel some kind of contact, more contact.
That pulls when I bring my feet and when I bend my knees and bring my feet to the floor, it pulls my awareness down.
Ah,
In, you know, closer into the area of the kidneys as they are now, and into my section, you know, into the you know, the vagina, and the outer area.
okay. Just notice if you're holding tension anywhere. Like I noticed I was pulling my shoulders, so make sure you relax your shoulders. And you remember what becomes of the mesonephros, what the video was, what Dr. Minus was describing? What develops from the mesonephros? Because that helped me. I found it better from thinking about the structures that developed.
My sense is that the mesenchymal tissue, you know, that whole area, then it sort of migrates around to where the ducts are appearing and starts to form, you know, the actual kidney. That's how I imagined it when I was watching him. I don't know if that's what happens.
Yeah, but he actually said, that's good, and he actually said that the mesonephros develops the genitals. It develops into the genitals, part of the structures there. So as soon as I started thinking about my genitals, that allowed me to trace back up to the mesonephros.
But the mesonephros is also making the ducts too, right? And then the area around it. I don't remember what you called that.
But it's not that it's that the ducts start from the paranephros and they just continue And as they continue downward, you can trace it. You can start at the paranephros and just draw lines on either side. Those are the ducts. And the ducts continue to the mesonephros as the ones at the top, so to speak, disappear. And then the mesonephros develops into the genitals, but it acts as a kidney for a shortened time. So you actually have kidney activity from the mesonephros. The ducts continue and they insert on the urogenital sinus. And I'm not sure how the mesonephros, if it travels down those ducts to develop into the genitals, or if the ducts go into the urogenital sinus and the mesonephros somehow forms into the other structures. You could research that and find out. I find it helpful to have my hands on the pelvic pit. And then I can feel my ovaries. Think about the mesonephros developing into my genitals. That includes my ovaries. I think it does anyway. And certainly the structures of the vagina, and I think the outer vagina, the labia. Again, I'd have to check that. But it's nice to feel that pit with following the path of the kidneys. So then we're down to what's the next structure called? The third stage. Say it again?
Meta, meta, M-E-T-A, yeah.
Yes. So now you're into the metanephros, which is the true kidney. And feel free to bend your knees if you want to feel a little bit more pressure or contact with the floor and your kidneys. And if you want to play with shifting your weight side to side or any way you want to shift it. So at this point, we're moving our legs around our kidneys. But you can also move your kidneys around your legs. And how would you do that?
I guess you could like feel into the roundness of the kidneys and then how they like plump up and they're very round.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps maybe like the already plump shape of the kidneys can give rise to some like micro movements and then that like then descend and perhaps move the lower half of the body.
You want to demonstrate?
So you could be in like knees into chest form or maybe in constructive rest, but just like really having a deep embodiment of where like the real anatomical kidneys are,
Mhm.
and then feeling like their profound shape, like descending into the earth or the ground, the floor. And there is a sense of like perhaps like the lower lumbar spine then rounds with the kidneys, and then the pelvis rounds, and then there could be a form like almost going into bridge pose, or it
Mhm.
could be like knees into chest and perhaps rounding. And there is like an initiation of movement from the plump of the, or the rounded form of the kidney.
I like that. I like that. You could also change your relation to gravity and bring your kidneys over your legs. So now I'm moving my kidneys over my legs. I have to hold my earpiece here. And it doesn't have to be a big movement. It can be very small. Try to really focus in on the kidney initiating. And then you can move one kidney and then the other kidney. So it feels more like a wiggle. Gosh, I find that very soothing. I have to put some Scotch tape to keep this from falling. Okay, I have to keep my head up for a while. Because I feel my food coming up.
I like that suggestion that you made about feeling them separately. I felt a, just a very subtle sort of rising on one side and then coming back down again and then rising on the other side, like just a kidney moving inside of me. Like,
Yeah.
I would just imagine. I could feel it though. I could feel this sort of movement.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Also, Sabrina, I liked when you said something about like coming into bridge pose, and moving the kidneys in relation to the legs in that way. That also, I didn't do it, but I feel like, oh yeah, I think I could, that would be a good way to have them sort of dancing together. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How about the horizontal plane?
Lying down flat.
You can do it lying down. It might be easiest.
What did
to
you
do
mean
it.
by horizontal?
So what does that mean, a horizontal plane? What are the planes? Yeah, that's the horizontal plane. What if you move your body around your kidneys horizontally?
Is the horizontal plane like the transverse plane?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it like divides from upper body to lower lower half of body.
Mm-hmm. So it's rotational. So rotating, like I'm rotating around one kidney here. And then coming back and rotating around. This is what you do in yoga in the triangle pose.
Like the lungs rotating around the heart, that kind of feeling of
Yeah.
tissues
Yes, except it's a
moving
kidney.
around. Yeah, except it's the kidneys, but there's like the kidney is moving in the middle of everything else as I turn. I'm turning around my kidney. I'm turning
Yeah, if you
everything
get
around the
clear,
kidney around it.
yeah,
Right.
get clearer and feel like it's not everything else. It's really the kidney that your body's moving around. That'll give you a little clearer picture if it can come to you that way.
I was thinking about how the touch, the containment, I mean, the kidney is moving within. And so it feels itself against the tissues around it. I think I'm not saying it very well, but.
Okay, but that would be what we would like to do, which is to focus the kidney and then rotate the kidney directly.
Uh-huh. But you were moving your body, and so the tissues around the kidney are also moving. That's what I'm.
Yeah, I'm moving my body around the kidney.
Letting the kidney initiate the movement, maybe?
And that's the second thing. So there's two separate things. One is moving the body around the kidney, and the other one is moving the kidney around the body, within the body. So we have the excursioning and the rotation, the two different actions. So with the ball is rotating, which would be our kidney. And the socket, which would be our body, is excursioning around the ball.
Yeah.
So see if you can find those two different ways of moving. Moving from the kidney is a different feeling. So here I am moving from the kidney. That's on the right, on my left. That's my left. I'm bringing it back, moving on the right side, using my kidney to draw my body to the right. Remembering my paranephros to keep my head in a good place to allow that alignment. And then bringing the right kidney back and my body following the kidney. Going to the left kidney, drawing the left kidney first, initiating in the kidney and rotating my body around the kidney. And reversing, initiating with the kidney, starting first, and then letting my body unwind. And then initiating on the right for me with the kidney. And reversing that, bringing the kidney forward and the body rounding to the front. And I'm going to reverse that. Not reverse it, now I'm going to change and focus on the excursioning of your body around the kidney. So that's, for me, a different speed, and it's actually much easier in a way. Going back and forth on one side. Initiating with the tissue around the kidney, whole body around the kidney, and returning. And that's feels good to me, and it feels like I don't need to do more of that one, but you can play with that. You can also breathe into your kidneys if you put the palms of your hands on your back. I had a kidney specialist tell me I had some kidney surgery, and I was talking about the movement of the kidneys, and he said, well, every time you breathe, your kidneys breathe. The kidneys move with your breathing. It made me think, wow, if you're a surgeon and you have to deal with the movement of the kidneys when you're working on the kidneys. So I thought, whoa, that takes a lot of skill. So if you put your hand, yeah. So see if you can breathe into your kidneys with your hands behind you.
Well, I can't put my hands behind me, but I can feel and breathe into my kidneys.
But you might want to lie sideways and put one hand behind you if that's easier. You can lie on your side. And you can put one hand on your kidney. Can you feel it? And see if you can feel your kidney. When you breathe in, it's like you fill the kidney area. And it expands. And then when you exhale, just imagine it shrinking. It could be that in reality that your kidney moves to accommodate the lungs expanding. But if you like the image, you could breathe directly into the kidney as if it were a lung. And feel the heat of your hand going into your kidney and nourishing your kidney. Do you feel the heat? So what are you sensing and feeling and thinking?
I can feel like the 12th rib move in relationship to the kidney.
Hmm.
So there's like the 12th vertebrae and then the 12th rib that wraps around the floating rib. I'm just like imagining like the last few ribs move in relationship to the kidneys.
Interesting. You know, the kidneys are not attached to that 12th rib, but the ribs protect the kidneys, at least half of them. And
Yeah.
the kidney, yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think the kidney on the right is a little lower because of the liver. So it's peeking out a little more under that 12th rib.
Mhm. Yeah, I was feeling into like the transfer of weight. And so like the plumpness of the kidney kind of like can yield into the ribs, which then the ribs then yield into the vertebrae. It's a very subtle movement, like a deep inner listening for that to happen.
As the diaphragm descends on the in-breath,
Mm-hmm.
I feel the kidney moving slightly down and laterally. And then coming back as as I release the breath and the diaphragm rises a bit again. And earlier and now, when the breath is light, even when the breath is light and I'm not feeling into the movement so much, I feel as though my awareness going deeper, the lens, of my awareness, like going in, then everything there, the kidneys get bigger.
Uh-huh.
And so I have this feeling of enlargement,
Uh-huh.
lateral, horizontally, the sort of, because, and I realized, oh, I'm not getting bigger. My view is getting my inner view is getting larger.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of, wow.
Yeah. Let's go on the other side in case you didn't do, I didn't do the other side. I'm going to shift my earpiece. And that blue object is my jacket on the chair. So in case that's distracting, now you know that's just some material. It's a whole different world over here. First of all, the temperature is not as hot as it was, so I'm hoping it'll warm up. And it feels it's smaller. It feels smaller. Do you feel a difference in your kidneys, left and right?
Yeah.
Can you describe it, Connie? What's the difference?
The kidney on my left seems smaller than the kidney on the right. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it felt that way when I was on my other side too, but I didn't recognize it until I switched sides, and then I realized, oh, I don't know. It just feels a little bit more compact and more distinctive, whereas the kidney on my right side feels larger and more soft. That's weird. I don't know. I have no idea why, but that's what I was feeling.
Okay. Now I'm getting warmer on the left side, so that's good. Sabrina, what about you?
Yeah, I do also feel the asymmetry. And then I'm also feeling they're like bilateralness, like they kind of like mirror each other on both sides. I'm like, when I relate to one side, perhaps like the right, I'm also checking in to see if that is shifting on the other side of the kidney.
Oh,
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the connection between the hand and the kidney, feeling an energy transference from my hand to my kidney. I guess I can feel it from my kidney to my hand. You can go both ways.
When I lie on my back and gently roll a little bit from side to side, I can feel how the two kidneys in relation to each other are sort of guiding the movement, or, cycling,
I
cycling
see.
around.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's more if they're both initiating the movement or supporting the movement as they roll a little bit from side to side.
Can you put that in terms of rotation versus excursioning? Rotating?
Yeah, rotation, it would be like it would be the kidneys rotating and
Together.
initiating or guiding, yes, together, one going under and the other reaching around
I see.
and then letting go and coming back in the other direction.
Okay.
So that would be rotation, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that was what I was driving at when we first were talking about how do we move the kidneys around the body. I was
Mhm,
envisioning us lying down,
mhm.
and we went to sitting, which is fine. So that's lovely to lead into that, Connie. Play with rolling your body around your kidneys and then reverse it, or not reverse it, but then play with rolling your kidneys, rotating your kidneys. If you have more space, you can make a big roll. And then you can come back to whatever feels good. For me, I'm going to be warming with my kidney. I like the rotation, Connie, too. Thank you.
I find it easier for me to excursion around the kidneys when I'm sitting up than when I'm lying down.
Okay.
And I was feeling this earlier, when we were first introduced this idea, I realized that, um, in excursioning around the kidneys, I become more aware of the stillness of the kidneys, like centers. I mean, I become more aware of them through that movement, this sort of, and that brings me back to that idea of support. Remember when we were doing the pronephros moving down, and then the nephros sort of growing downward, the sense of a still core,
Mm-hmm.
on either side.
You can also, not if you want to, you don't feel like this, but you could also come to your four-legged position on your hands and knees and move in the vertical plane, which would be up towards the ceiling and down towards the floor.
So like rounding the back and rounding the up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And you can rotate your kidneys under your ribs and under your inside your body in this position on your knees. So now you're working more head to toe or caudad to cephalad, and you're on your knees. So if you, Connie, I'm getting this sense as you're moving that you're using the entire kidney, kind of like the diaphragm, going up and it's going flatter, it's getting rounder and flatter, but you can also tilt it. So it doesn't go rounder and flatter, but it goes headward. So the back end lifts, and then it drops in the back at the caudad end and tilts backwards. So the upper end comes up. So you can tilt the head part down as the back lifts up, and then reverse that. So the tail section of your kidney would lower, and the upper part would come up. But you can also just lower it and raise it when the back rounds. See if you can find this. Mm-hmm. What do you feel?
Yeah, I just feel it moving as I round the back a little bit. I feel the kidney moving, reaching downward.
At what point? At what part of the kidney is reaching downward?
The lower part, reaching down and sort of like directing.
Okay. Okay.
And then when I release that, then I can feel what you were saying, like the head of the kidney reaching towards or under, upward under the rib, maybe? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't feeling that, so you put word to it and then.
Gosh, well, we'll play with that as the last part of our class. I'm going to move the kidney as a whole. And then I'm going to tilt the bottom of the kidney. And then I'm going to tilt the top of the kidney. And release the bottom. That's an interesting experiment. And I'm just going to wiggle everything. And see if you feel any difference. If it's easier to put your hands behind you, or if you feel different in your back. Or you can play with the pronephros, the ducts traveling down to the mesonephros, into the metanephros, and you have your actual kidneys. You can play with having one hand on the pronephros and one hand on the metanephros and connect them. And Bonnie talks about the freedom of the neck when you're in touch with your paranephros. So connecting the top of the neck and remembering that in the thoracic and lumbar area, you also have those developing nerves emanating into the sympathetic ganglionic chain.
Mm.
And as you travel down, remember she was talking about the kidneys rising and meeting the adrenal glands. But that the body grows down as the kidneys rise up to meet the adrenals. And this is below the embryonic disc, so there's the downwardness here that gives us that depth in the pelvic pit. You could feel the fat in there too. So I'm afraid we have to come to a close. This has been lovely. It's been wonderful to be with you. And I just would ask you, if you have any feedback, you could send me a text, a message, an email about your sessions working with me and anything that would improve it for you, or anything that you especially liked about it or didn't like about it. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.
And I'll see you on December 5th.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
right. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, is
In
it?
2 weeks. And I'll have a class on December 6th on Friday. So Bonnie's teaching on the 5th. I will offer the support group on the 6th. And then she's teaching on the 12th again the following Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I'll meet again on that
That's Friday.
13th.
Yeah.
Friday the
Okay.
13th. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you so much. This was lovely. Really
was
lovely.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful to be with you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.